Welcome everyone. In this explainer, we are going to break down absolutely everything you need to know about Varicella Zoster Virus and chickenpox for your exams. Let's get right into it.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We'll start with what the virus actually is, then we'll track how it attacks the body. After that, we'll cover the signs and symptoms, how we confirm it in the lab, and finally, how we fight back with treatments and prevention. A nice logical flow.
First things first, let's get a really clear definition of our target. The Varicella Zoster Virus, or VZV for short.
So VZV is a really interesting character. It's part of the herpes virus family, and it's got this dual personality. It's one virus, but it causes two totally different diseases. The first time you meet it, you get chickenpox. But the virus doesn't just leave, oh no, it goes into hiding in your nerves, and years later, it can wake up and cause shingles. Understanding this duality is absolutely crucial.
So let's put these two side by side. On the left, you've got chickenpox. That's the primary infection, the first round. It's what you typically see in kids, and the rash is everywhere. It's generalized and bilateral, meaning on both sides of the body. Now on the right, you have shingles. This is the reactivation, the sequel. It usually hits adults or the elderly, and the rash is the complete opposite. It's unilateral, hitting just one side, and it follows the path of a single nerve. So, same virus, but a very different presentation.
All right, here's a super simple memory trick for your exams. VZV is human herpes virus type 3. To remember that, just look at the Z in VZV. Imagine you draw a little horizontal line through the middle of the Z, and boom, it looks just like a 3. You'll never forget it now.
Okay, next up, pathogenesis. This is a classic exam question, so let's really trace the journey this virus takes, from the moment it enters the body to the moment that telltale rash appears.
So the virus has a battle plan, and it happens in 5 clear steps. Step 1, entry. It gets in through your respiratory tract or your eyes. Pretty simple. Step 2, primary viremia. From there, it hits the local lymph nodes and makes its first trip into the bloodstream. Think of this as the scout team. Step 3, multiplication. The virus finds a safe place to build its army, usually the liver and spleen, and it just replicates like crazy. Step 4, secondary viremia. Now the full army is released back into the bloodstream in massive numbers. This is the main invasion. And finally, step 5, target sites. Infected cells carry the virus all over, hitting the skin to cause the rash, and critically, hiding out in the neurons to set up latency for a possible shingles return later on.
So now we know how it attacks, but what does it actually look like in a patient? What are the classic signs you need to be able to spot from a mile away? This is all about recognizing the pattern.
To nail the description of a chickenpox rash on your exam, this mnemonic, CBPD, is your best friend. C stands for centripetal, meaning it starts centrally on the trunk and face and then spreads out. B is for bilateral. It's on both sides of the body. P is for pleomorphic, and this is a huge buzzword. It means you see lesions in all stages at the same time. New red spots, fluid-filled blisters, and old, crusty scabs, all coexisting. And D is for that classic, almost poetic description, dewdrop on a rose petal.
And this is exactly what we're talking about. Look at that image. You can perfectly see the clear vesicle, that's the dewdrop, sitting right on top of a red, inflamed base, which is the rose petal. Burn this image into your brain, because it's the classic textbook picture of a chickenpox lesion.
Now, while chickenpox is usually pretty mild in kids, you have to know the complications. For children, the most common issue is getting a secondary bacterial skin infection because, well, they scratch. But here's a high-yield fact for adults. The most serious complication by far is varicella pneumonia. That's a big deal. And for any exam, you absolutely have to remember the link between giving aspirin to a kid with a virus like chickenpox and the risk of developing Ray's syndrome. Never forget that one.
Okay, so the clinical picture looks like a slam dunk for chickenpox, but in medicine, we like proof. So how do we definitively confirm a VZV infection in the lab? Let's check out our diagnostic toolkit. For lab tests, just remember the mnemonic TVAP. T is for Tansmear, a classic where you scrape a lesion and find multinucleated giant cells. V is for virus isolation, pretty self-explanatory. A is for antibody or antigen detection tests like ELISA. But the one you really need to focus on is P. P is for PCR.
And why is that? Because for your exams, you need to know that PCR is the gold standard for diagnosing VZV. It's the most sensitive and specific test we have. If a question asks for the best, most accurate, or confirmatory test, PCR is your answer. It directly finds the virus's DNA, so there's no ambiguity.
All right, we've defined the enemy,
tracked its invasion, and learned how to confirm its presence. Now let's talk about the counteroffensive. How do we treat it, and even better, how do we prevent it in the first place?
When it comes to treatment, the name of the game is acyclovir. This antiviral is our go-to weapon. Now, for a healthy kid, you might just let it run its course. But for adults, the immunocompromised, or anyone at risk for severe disease, getting them on acyclovir early is absolutely key to prevent those nasty complications we talked about, like pneumonia.
But, of course, prevention is always better than a cure. We have a two-pronged attack here. First is active immunization with the live attenuated vaccine. You gotta know the name of the strain. It's the OCA strain. This gives you long-term immunity. Then, for emergencies, say a pregnant woman or an immunocompromised patient gets exposed, we use post-exposure prophylaxis with something called VZV. It's a shot of pre-made antibodies that gives them immediate, passive protection.
All right, let's boil it all down. This right here is your ultimate cheat sheet. If you're cramming the night before an exam, this is a slide to screenshot. It has all the high-yield facts we covered. VZV is HHV3, the CBPD mnemonic for the rash, varicella pneumonia in adults as the top complication, PCR is the gold standard, acyclovir for treatment, and the OCA strain vaccine for prevention. This is pure gold.